everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be a group review kind of video. Goodreads posted their 76 most popular books of the past decade list, and I thought it would be interesting to go through it. I'm going to let you know my thoughts on all of the ones that I have read, kind of tell you what they're about, if I like them or not, if I would recommend them or not. And the ones that I haven't read, I will tell you if I'm planning on reading them or not, and you can tell me in the comment section if I should or shouldn't. And yeah, it's kind of just a fun way to discuss a bunch of books. I don't know why they settled on 76 books. It's like weirdly precise, but we're just gonna go for it, and hopefully a lot of them are good. I quickly looked because I wasn't going to do this video if I had hated all of them, which I have really a complicated relationship with Goodreads and their popular books. I feel like sometimes some of the lists are really disappointing. Obviously, subjective opinion, but every review is going to be subjective, so let's get to it. I don't know if these are in the order of the best one to the least, but we're just gonna go for it. The first one I'm seeing is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I read this book when it was just starting to get some hype, so I feel like my expectations were not high. I had no idea what the book was about. I had just seen someone that I used to watch. She doesn't post videos anymore, but I was really excited to try it and ended up loving it. So I feel like lately I've heard more negative reviews, but again, I think that when a book becomes really popular, everyone's expectations are really high. But you're following Evelyn Hugo's life story through her seven husbands, and you're finding out throughout her first interview who was her one true love. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I do feel like there were some weaknesses, again, mostly towards the end, but I was really invested and I overall enjoyed it. I believe this is becoming a movie and I'm actually looking forward to it. So that one I would recommend. But the next one, probably not. The Girl on the Train, which again, super popular. I definitely am not shocked that that book is on the list. I feel like, again, it became popular, then people started really hating on it. I read it with low expectations and I thought it was fine. I do think that afterwards I got really sick of the trope of drunk woman. I feel like it's been so overused, but the fact that she's unlikable and again an alcoholic, I completely understand why people did not care for it, but for me it was fine. It's not a book that I tend to recommend ever, but it was fine. It was fine. The next one is Where the Crawdads Sing. Personally, I started the audiobook and put it down so quickly. You know how sometimes you just have a strong reaction to a book and you don't really know why, but I just knew I was going to hate it, so I did that. It's really popular though, so you can do as you wish, as always, but I don't really recommend it. Not that I could, because I read or listened to an hour or two of it. The next one I'm seeing is All the Light We Cannot See. I personally am so over historical fiction set during World War II, so it is not surprising that I feel a bit meh about it. Everyone raves about it, everyone likes the writing style. Again, I have basically no feelings about it because I liked the beginning, but then I kind of lost interest, especially with the romance-y. Whenever the two stories kind of connect, I really had no emotional investment, which sounds really weird with World War II, but I'm so sick of it. So it's not personal, it just wasn't for me. I believe that one was also made into a movie. Will not watch because again, can't do it. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Okay, this is another one that people were raving about it, then started hating on it, which I love this one, but I completely understand why people wouldn't. It just contains a trope, or just the premise I really, really like. You follow this woman, she's kind of depressed, suicidal, and she ends up in between life and death, and she goes to the Midnight Library where every book in there is a possible life that she could have lived, and she gets to experience a couple of them and kind of, making some discoveries about her life, just life in general. And I like that concept quite a bit, so I feel like I was more forgiving about some parts. So personally enjoyed it. It almost went in a direction, I'm keeping this video spoiler free, but it almost went in a direction, which I can spoil in the comment section, and I would have hated the book if it had. I feel like it just doesn't, but I could see how that would annoy some people. I would be right there if it actually did, but yeah, I liked it, so personally would recommend it. I think just these sci-fi-y kind of concepts work for me, so yeah, I liked it. The average rating is still 4.01, so clearly the people liked it too. Next we have Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I have never read anything by her, and quite frankly, I highly doubt I will ever read anything by her. I just don't see the appeal from what I've heard. I think her relationship, her romances tend to be quite toxic, so not my thing. The only reason I would ever pick one up, I think it would be for a challenge, and I feel like I would bash it, so I don't really want to do that to myself, so I'm gonna skip it, but it's clearly popular. Next we have Educated. I'm actually shocked that there's a nonfiction there. I did read that one, I did enjoy it, I listened to it as an audiobook. do want to mention that there are a few scenes that are really, really triggering, so do be aware, but you have this, I was going to say this character. Ooh, it is nonfiction. This woman, she's writing about her life story, how she was incredibly isolated as a kid, and it's kind of her life story and how she went on to get, I think it's a PhD, but yeah, it was an intense life story for sure. Next we have Daisy Jones in the Six. Honestly, I feel like it wasn't as good. Nothing has been as good as the other book by her that I mentioned at #1. This one, my main complaint is that it feels like a skeleton of a story. It's incredibly short. It is written interview style, and I listened to it as an audiobook, which was recommended to me, which I would say yes, do recommend listening to it as an audiobook because, again, interview style. I think TV show was better, even though I agree with the complaints that a few of them look like they had Instagram face. It's true, it's true. But I think the TV show was better than the book, which I don't say that often, but not a horrible book, just wasn't as good as it could have been. Normal People. Okay, I personally am a big hater of that one. I just really didn't care, or like I really hated the characters and the writing style of the author, but it's really popular. So yeah, I think my review on Goodreads is actually saying that whoever was behind the marketing deserves a race because this was awful. I sound harsh, but I feel like people either really love it or really hate it, and I really hated it. So The Nightingale by Chris and Anna. I have not read that book. It's been on my shelf for like over 5 years. I do want to read it, but again, it is World War II, so I have since learned it's not really my thing, but one day. I'm trying to wait until I'm kind of over it, you know, over my hatred of World War II to give it a shot, because I've heard such great things and I really want to love it, but I'm not ready yet. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. I tend to hate these kind of nonfiction self-help kind of books. I don't know if it's as bad as You Are a Badass, but if it is, I will never pick it up. And frankly, even if it isn't, I don't know if I want to pick it up. Like, I'm glad whenever they work for people, but in my experience, again, I don't know specifically about this one, but these kind of self-help books, I feel like they give people that kind of feeling that it's helping, but it doesn't, like, there's no substance actually making a change, and they keep getting stuck in that circle. I have a friend that does that, so like she's fully aware of my opinion. We've discussed this, but like, you're never actually changing anything. It might have changed your life, but I'm just saying that this is why I won't be picking it up. Becoming by Michelle Obama. I'm Canadian, so she was never my first lady, but I did listen to that one, which was narrated by herself, I'm pretty sure, and it was good. It was good. Definitely learn more about her, but I don't really go around recommending biography, but if that's your thing, or I should say memoir, yeah, it wasn't bad. Malibu Rising. Okay, this is the third book by the author on this list. It wasn't bad. I liked it better than Daisy Jones, but again, not as good as The Seventh Husband of Evelyn Hugo. Eleanor Elephant is completely fine. This book was part of my pile of shame for years. My pile of shame is basically books that I started and never finished. It took me like 4 or 5 years at least to finish. It's not good, but I forced myself, you know, hoping that I was going to like it as much as everyone else, and I really do not understand the hype. I feel like sometimes you're like, oh, it really wasn't for me, but I get it. I don't. I really don't. No, really, really didn't care for it. So Atomic Habits. This one is also kind of self-help-ish nonfiction, but this one I did enjoy. I do think that it's a topic that has been done to death. I have tried a couple books on the topic, and I do think this one, how do you say that? The only way I can think of is like dump it down, like make it easier to digest for like everyone. So I think that's why it's so popular, but I get it, this one, I get it. The Goldfinch, this one, I read it knowing nothing. I had read The Secret History, which I'm not seeing on the list. We're gonna keep going down. I'm shocked that one isn't there because I feel like it was so much better than this one. I went into it only knowing that it was about this painting, which barely. And there's so much more drugs than expected. So yeah, even though I knew nothing about the book, it was nothing like I expected in a bad way. So really didn't care for it. I'm shocked that it's popular, but everyone has a different taste, of course. The Tattooist of Auschwitz. This one should be burned. Honestly, a book that should not have existed. It's straight up offensive. I believe that the author wrote it based on someone's story, but just very loosely based. Straight up offensive. Straight up offensive. Okay, A Little Life. Another book that will divide people. Personally, huge fan. I understand that it's like non-stop trauma, but I was so emotionally invested in characters. I love the writing style. I've been meaning to read more by the author. I will. Some of my all-time favorite characters, I personally loved Willem. Loved him. And the last 100 pages took me like a week to finish because I kept putting the book down because I didn't want to cry. And if I had read the last 100 pages in one go, I would have cried. So yeah, I feel like you've seen probably like really dramatic reading vlogs of people going through it and just bawling. And that would have been me if I hadn't put it down because it is really heartbreaking. So yeah, I get why people hate it, but I personally loved it. Big Little Lies. Okay, this is the only book by the author that I've been able to finish by her. I did enjoy it. Took me by surprise because you're following, you know, this group of moms and it's about their mom life, family life, and I wasn't expecting to love it, but I did. I think it's because the characters are really likable. And the TV show was good too. I finished only the first season. I'm not planning on continuing, but I rarely finish series whenever they're too long or add more. So yeah, it was good. Do recommend it. You've probably already read it, I feel like, at this point though. Lessons in Chemistry. I'm surprised it's here. Did someone get paid? Because I'm not saying that because I didn't finish it, but it's because it's really recent. How is it one of the best one from the last decade? I'm surprised. But yeah, personally couldn't finish it. No hard feeling, just wasn't for me. The Vanishing Half, I did like it. I don't read a ton of contemporaries, but I remember overall enjoying it. I believe this was the one with, is it twins or sisters? Yeah, twin sisters. One of them is white passing, one isn't, and you're seeing how their lives are affected by that. This is part of my pile of shame. I started it, I'm about 50%, and I have yet to finish it. I feel like if I'm not forcing myself, I will never finish it. It's like friends building a video game, but really strong normal people vibes so far. Then we have another nonfiction. I'm surprised that there are so many. I'm glad my mom died. I overall did really like this one, but again, I'm surprised that it's on here because it was published in 2022, but it does have almost 750,000 ratings, so maybe it should be here. I did like that one. I knew nothing about the author. I did not watch any of the TV shows that she played in as a kid because, again, I spoke French, and by the time that it was translated, I must have been too old. But yeah, it was a tough read anyway. If you have a complicated relationship with your mother or, you know, liked her as an actress, you might want to check that out. It was intense. I did read The Great Alone by Chris and Anna. This one, I liked the beginning and then kind of hated the last third. You follow this young girl who is living with her family in Alaska, and her father is abusive, and you're kind of seeing her life. So yeah, strong beginning, weak ending in my opinion, wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I did not read The Spanish Love Deception. I've seen it going around a lot, but I think a lot of you told me that I was going to hate it, so I didn't pick it up. When Breath Becomes Air. Okay, this is a nonfiction once again. You're following a doctor who, yeah, a neurosurgeon who ends up having terminal cancer. I did like to see this whole situation from the point of view of a doctor. I do think that was interesting. I have some opinions about some of his personal choices towards the end, which I'm going to keep it vague. Personally, my favorite part of the whole book was the epilogue that was written by his wife. This is where I cried. So would recommend it. It's so popular at this point, but yeah. Then we have Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I thought this was just okay. I thought I was going to like it a lot more than I did. You're following, how many of them are there? Like 13 or something? I don't think it says the number of people, but there's a bunch of people that are viewing this apartment at the same time, and there's been a bank robbery, and that person is like hiding between these people. I think that was the premise, and I feel like it was extremely character driven, which can be hit and miss, and I personally wasn't invested enough emotionally to care as much as I wanted to. So not necessarily the most popular opinion, so you have a higher chance of liking it than I did, but it was okay. Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, again, nonfiction. Did they have to choose a certain amount of nonfiction? I'm really surprised there are so many. This one was good. The author is obviously very charismatic, and he's narrating the audiobooks, so would recommend that route if that's your thing. It was interesting to see his childhood and his relationship with his mother, so if you're interested, would pick that one up. A Gentleman in Moscow. I've been looking at that one quite a bit, but the reviews I was seeing were saying that the writing style was really difficult to go through, so I never ended up picking it up. I feel like at this point I'm obviously bilingual, but I still can be intimidated by literary fiction. I said it okay this time. Literary. These English R's are so hard to say. The Four Wings by Kristen Anna again. I did not pick that one up because when I mentioned that I was thinking about it, a lot of you told me it wasn't good, but the ratings are really high, so should I? I probably should start with The Nightingale, to be honest. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is one of the moments where I know I liked a book, but I don't remember anything. It sounds bad, but I know it's character driven. I believe it's an immigrant Korean family, and I believe it's like a teenager murder mystery thing happened. Maybe a fire, I'm assuming. But I remember really liking it, so I feel like it's not a bad thing that I don't remember, because that means I will eventually be able to reread it. So there's that. Before We Were Yours, I have seen that cover, but I know absolutely nothing about it, so I highly doubt I will pick that up. And Everything I've Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I remember also reading that book by her and not remembering that much. I feel like it's again, is it Korean again? No, this one is Chinese American family. And I know there's a teenager murder mystery situation. Both of them were Chinese American. I thought they were Korean. I think I'm thinking of NG Kim. Such a Fun Age. This one is a contemporary, so once again, I don't read a ton of those, but this one was quite popular, so I picked it up, and I did overall enjoy it. American Dirt, did not pick that up, but I love that cover. It reminds me of those like countryside, French countryside towels, like kitchen towels. And I love them. They're so expensive though, but yeah. Sidetracked, but yes, I haven't read that one. Pachinko, I thought I was going to like this one more than I did. I really liked the beginning, lost interest in the middle, I liked the ending. So if you're looking to read more books about like family, like history, kind of generation going through it, really, I would pick that one up, but personally it was kind of a mess situation. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Okay, this one, I really liked The Martian by him, and then I hated Artemis by him, so I wanted to try something else, and this one kind of ended up being a little bit in between. I like the premise because once again you're following a man trying to survive in space with only his own knowledge, and I liked the friendship and I liked the ending, but I lost interest at times. I feel like, contrary to The Martian, I feel like the story wasn't always progressing. Like something would happen and he would have to solve it to survive, but I didn't feel like the story was progressing. That's basically it. I still overall enjoyed it, but I just don't feel like it was as good as The Martian. I can't help but compare them. The Husband's Secret, I'm surprised that one is there. I couldn't finish it. So there's that. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I don't think her writing style works for me, but I do think that this one is interesting in the sense that it is a post-apocalyptic book. There's quite a few flip-flopping between point of views, timelines, and you're following some people like pre-pandemic, and then some afterwards. You're following people that are like basically a troupe of like theater. They're just doing like Shakespeare plays. So it's very different from all of the other ones that I have read, but it was an all-time favorite because of her writing style, but I would recommend checking that one out if you're interested. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. Again, I'm not reading anything else by her, so no. Heartstopper, I know this was really popular. I haven't picked it up. I know there's also a TV show and I'm not interested. Kiri Soto is back. I haven't read that. I don't know if I really want to read the book by her. I feel like I have read 3 and the first one was the best, so. The Alice Network, I do want to read that one. Is it World War II? I have a feeling it is. That's why I haven't picked it up, but I have heard that it was really good. And I like the idea of like, I think it's female spies, and like, maybe when I'm over again my hatred of World War II, I'll pick it up. But Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, I did really enjoy that one. Do be warned, the characters are not the strength of the author, but his books will keep you up until 2 in the morning. And there are quite a few like sci-fi twists, which I think make a book very interesting, but just be prepared to read a book that reads like a movie. But I did really like that one. Red Rising, it was okay. I tried 2 books from this series and I think it's just not for me, but it was giving Hunger Games on Mars kind of Game of Thrones-ish vibes. The Underground Railroad, I have not read that one. I believe I've read another book by the author I had enjoyed, so I might pick that up. Is it worth it? I've heard great things, so I might. But again, historical fiction, so not really my main genre, but I'm interested. Crying in H Mart. This one will make you cry. You're following, it's a nonfiction. I really need to stop saying that for nonfiction. A first generation Korean American girl, and I believe she's, I should say woman, and I believe she's an artist, like a well-known musician, I want to say, but it's about her relationship with her mother. So if you have a complicated relationship with your mother, you're probably gonna cry too. So yeah, very intense one. Untamed, I don't know what it is about. I haven't picked it up, most likely won't. Beartown by Frederick Backman. This is one of the only books I DNF'd years ago. I just couldn't do it. I don't find books triggering very often, but this one was too much for me, so I put it down. Conversation with Friends, again, not planning on reading more by the author, so no. On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous. I did enjoy that one. It's also like memoir-ish nonfiction where I think it's dedicated to his mother. Yeah, it's like a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. Crazy Rich Asians. I did not read the book. I did really enjoy the movie. I feel like I should rewatch it. So is the book worth it, or should I just stick to the movie? The Giver of Stars. I have not read that one. I watched the movie Me Before You from the same author, and I was so angry at the ending that I will never read anything by her, so. Anybody else feels the same? That ending sucked, okay? Like, no. Next we have Remarkably Bright Creatures. This came out this year. This cannot be. I don't believe it for a second that this is one of the best most popular book of the last decade. Don't. This is what I mean by having mixed feelings about Goodreads. There's no way. It only has like 300 and something thousand ratings. There's no way. I do want to read this one. I have my name on the waiting list for the audiobook at my library, so I will get to it. I just haven't yet. The Lost Apothecary. There is no way. 300,000 ratings? I couldn't finish it. I couldn't finish it. I love the idea of like witches and like you're going back and forth in time. It was so freaking boring. There's no way. Someone is lying, okay? Like I'm saying that seriously. There's no way. Then we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Okay, I like the concept. This was written as a play in this coffee shop. There are rumors, this is set in Japan, that people can travel in time in that cafe. The rules are really strict though. You have to go back in time just in that cafe. You have to come back before the coffee is cold, blah, blah, blah. So interesting concept, but the story goes in a direction that really pissed me off. I can tell you in the comment section if you want the spoiler, but I read book 2 also, and it just keeps going in that direction, and I hated it. So it's one of my personal pet peeve tropes. So cool concept though. The Testaments, which is the follow-up to The Handmaid's Tale. I didn't like book 1 that much, and I cared for book 2 even less. So My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I have heard mixed feelings about this one. I haven't read it yet. I've been thinking about it though. Talking to Strangers. I haven't read that one. I'm not planning on reading anything by the author. Orphan Train. I have not read that. Is it historical fiction? I'm kind of getting those vibes from the cover. Probably not. Americana. I have not read. The Dutch House. I have not read. Homegoing is on my shelf. I love that cover. And I've been meaning to read that, but I just keep forgetting it exists. An American Marriage, I have read and it was good. Between the World and Me, it's on my shelf. I haven't read it. Clara and the Sun, I have not read, but I do want to. I've been meaning to read something by the author. I don't think this is the best way to start. I have another one that I want to try first on my shelf. Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, I have not read. Should I? My Dark Vanessa. I don't really want to read more books about grooming. This was a really tough read to read, but I think it was well done. I feel like sometimes some books, it feels like really gratuitous and like it's there for a shocking value. I do think the topic was well handled, but I don't want to read more books like that. It's no, not the book's fault, just it really isn't for me. Barack Obama, I have not read. Mad Honey, I have not read. Sea of Tranquility? Really? 200,000 ratings. I do not, listen, real talk, there's no way. Like, not saying it's not popular, 200,000 ratings, but from the last decade, please. I'm not seeing one book by Brandon Sanderson on here. Like, that's just the first one that pops into my head. You cannot tell me that one of his books is not better than some of these. Come on. That's such a lie. Again, this one, the writing style, once again, is not for me. I always say it's vibes, and it's just not for me. And there's a lot of back and forth in time. Like, the anomaly that happens is interesting. Kind of sci-fi-ish vibes, but her books just don't work for me. It's fine. Demon Copperhead, I do want to read it. I have bought a copy. Spare, I have not read, will not read. Girl, Woman, Other is something that I do want to try. Cuckoo Lad, I haven't tried yet. I might not. Killers of the Flower Moon, I will probably try it. I'm not huge on like crime. I think this one is nonfiction. Yeah, true life murder. I might try it because it's popular and I want to try it. So yeah, a little bit all over the place, that list, right? I feel like I had quickly looked and I didn't think I was going to be a hater by the end because, come on, I cannot be the only one. Please let me in the comment section if you also are shocked by the books on this list. Like, let me reread the intro. There's no way. There's no way. Honestly, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But it is what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. We can gossip in the comments. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I will see you in the comment section. Bye.